In November of 1917, the British government did something which was incredibly strange and mysterious. A Britain, which is now the prince of the secular world. The secular world takes religion out of politics. And Britain is the prince of the secular world. Britain issues a declaration known as the Balfour Declaration in November 1917 that it is the intention of His Majesty's government to work for the establishment of a Jewish national home in the Holy Land. Did you hear that? Why would a secular state, which leads the world of secular states, declare its intention to work for the establishment of a Jewish national home, meaning a Jewish state, in the Holy Land? 2 months later, this was October 1917, in December 1917, it is a British army led by General Allenby which defeats the Ottoman Islamic army and liberates the Holy Land. And when Allenby entered into Jerusalem, the British general declared, "Today, the Crusades are over." Oh, but the Crusades were supposed to have been Christian wars. And you are now a secular state. You're not a Christian state, you're a secular state. How come a secular Britain is continuing a crusade started by the Pope 1,000 years before? That's strange. That is incredibly strange. That in the summer of 1914, they were ready to strike with an act of terrorism. An act of terrorism which changed the world. I want to suggest to you that the authors of that act of terrorism in the summer of 1914, through which the Archduke Franz Ferdinand was assassinated in Sarajevo, are the same authors who planned and executed the September 11 attack on America. In the summer of 1914, there were 6 major powers in Europe: Britain, France, Russia, Germany, Austria-Hungary. That's 5. That's 5. Number 6? Number 6? Who remembers number 6? Number 6 was the Ottoman Islamic Empire. I mean, we forget about it. 6 major powers in Europe. And the Holy Land was under the control of the Ottoman Islamic Empire. The Archduke Franz Ferdinand was assassinated in Sarajevo. And the fingerprints or the footprints, which were of course manufactured, led to Russia. It was intended to lead to Russia. Like September 11 footprints or fingerprints was intended to lead to Arabs and Muslims. And so Austria-Hungary declared war on Russia. as George Bush attacked Afghanistan. And then Britain and France, who had a defense treaty with Russia, now came to the assistance of Russia and joined the war. And then Germany entered the war on the side of Austria-Hungary. And then the Ottoman Islamic Empire was pushed, shoved into the war on the side of Germany. And so the stage was set, as the stage is now set today after September the 11th. And the big war took place. But strangely, Britain was losing that war, because Germany unveiled a new weapon of war that had never been used before, the submarine. And when Britain was on her knees, facing defeat, Britain, which was the ruling state in the world, is now facing defeat. Then the German Jews went to the British government and said, let's make a deal. If you will promise to give us the Holy Land, we'll bring the United States into the war on your side. Britain said, deal. You will see all of this on the last day.
The Balfour Declaration was a commitment that the British made to the Zionist movement during the fighting of the First World War, wherein Britain undertook to establish a Jewish national home. So the original commitment is in November 1917, when the British promise the Zionist organization that they would support the creation of a Jewish national home if they win the war. And the question is, why did the British make this announcement? You must understand that each of the Allied powers was trying to curry favor with all sorts of ethnic minorities in Europe in order to gain an advantage in the conduct of war. The British believed that the Jews had a lot of influence amongst the socialist and the Bolshevik governments in Russia. And they thought that if they give the Jews what they want, that'll keep the Bolsheviks happy. Now, that of course is absurd, because the Bolsheviks weren't in the slightest interested in Zionism. It has also been argued that the British shared a biblical vision of the return of the Jews to the Holy Land. In fact, the decision to issue the Balfour Declaration and to undertake this commitment was a hard-headed decision based on diplomatic and strategic needs. In particular, the British were about to invade Palestine, which was still controlled by the Turks. They wanted the assistance of the Jews in Palestine, and they got that assistance. They wanted the support of the American Jewish community. They got that assistance too. So the Balfour Declaration was a very worthwhile document for the British.
There was a guy who had been born in Boston, Massachusetts on December 30th, 1809, a guy by the name of Albert Pike. He was an impressive intellect. He was a Harvard graduate back when it really meant something. He was the master of 16 languages, and he was a despicable son of a... because he openly worshipped Satan. He was part of an organization called the Philatelists. He was the one that converted this Knights of the Golden Dawn to the Ku Klux Klan. And he was the author of a book called Morals and Dogma. It is the most revered text among the Masons. And in this text on page 321, Albert Pike said, "It is Lucifer, the morning light, whose seething energies you must learn to control or implement." So it was this Albert Pike, the same guy that wrote a letter to his superior in the Illuminati, a guy over in Europe by the name of Giuseppe Mazzini, who was the revolutionary leader. And Giuseppe Mazzini also happened to be the founder of the Mafia. This letter that he wrote to Giuseppe Mazzini on August 15 of 1871 outlined 3 world wars. And the first of those world wars was to be fomented between the differences between the German nationals and the Brits, and end up with the downfall of Tsarist Russia and the rise of communism. Any of us who studied any history at all knows That's exactly how World War I took place. Then World War II was fomented between the Zionists, between the German nationalists again, and the Brits to bring us in. And in World War II, Israel was to be born, and the Zionists were given power. So since the first two wars came off just exactly as that letter said, and that letter used to hang right in the British Museum library until 1977 when Baron Rothschild became a director. And as soon as he was on the board of directors, that letter disappeared from the library. Immediately.
And so the United States entered into the war. And Britain won the war. In the process, the Ottoman Islamic Empire was defeated, was dismembered, and the Holy Land was liberated for the Jews. And so an act of terrorism led to this strategic target being achieved, the liberation of the Holy Land. Between 1918 and 1948, it is the island of Britain which ruled over the Holy Land on a mandate conferred by the League of Nations. And during that period of time, with tremendous deception, while pretending to keep the Jews out, Britain opened the doors for the Jews of Europe to enter into the Holy Land and to reclaim it as their own. In between came the interlude of Adolf Hitler, which speeded up the movement of the Jews from Europe to the Holy Land. In 1948, Britain did something strangest of all. Britain is a state with a tremendous commitment to the rule of law. And so every time Britain decolonized, there was always an insistence of a legal transfer of power. And then you had the flags going up at midnight, and the national anthem and the constitution and so on. A legal transfer of power. It happened in Trinidad as well. But in 1948, when Britain left the Holy Land, she left like a thief in the dark. For the first time, for the only time in British history, there was no legal transfer of power from Britain to the successor state. In 1948, Britain acted as the midwife for the baby to be born, the European Jewish state of Israel. But now, the United States takes over from Britain as the new ruling state in the world. In the same way that Britain had a mysterious relationship with the Holy Land and with the Jews, the United States now has that mysterious relationship with the Holy Land and with the Jews. It's not by accident. Dajjal has completed a day which is like a year, and he's now in a day which is like a month. Phase 2 of his mission. The United States is flying high now because it's about to crash. We are located at that moment in time when a day which is like a month is about to end, and the day which is like a week is about to commence.